we get 2 shots? Sure.
But have you ever wondered what's behind this creation? Well, why fear when my book, Proof, The Science of Booze, is here? I'm Adam Rogers, and in this book, I answer all the questions you've been dying to ask. I discuss all the topics, from the fermentation of sugar to the process of distillation, and even answer why people get hangovers. Yeah, you heard that right. I love booze, and I know one thing. This love is shared by millions of people around the world. See, I love beer as much as the next guy, and I spent years researching what made beer such an incredible drink. And at last, I'm able to share with you all of my experience. So sit back and relax, and I will give you a sneak peek into my book. In my first chapters, I discuss the most important topic: yeast and sugar, ingredients that are sitting in your own kitchen. Everyone knows that yeast and sugar are a crucial ingredient in bread and in other edible food. But did you know that they play a huge role for beer? Even though these ingredients are easy to find in your grocery stores, they actually took decades of research to discover the structure and the effect that gave to the beer. In the book, I cover the most important of yeast and the process of how it eats sugar and makes ethanol. There are many different techniques that some countries in Asia use to produce alcohol, and how they are different in comparison to other countries. In the third chapter, I discuss the technology required for the process of distillation. One of my favorite chapters I would like to talk about in this book is the body and brain. See, if you like psychology, you're gonna like this chapter right here, this precise chapter. See, I studied many strange psychological experiments, from how your surroundings affect your behavior with alcohol, to how professors took a Harvard student. He taped electrodes to his hands, and they squirted booze up his butt while he was asleep to test the effects of his body the next morning. Freaky, isn't it? I love traveling the world to collect information for this topic, and I wanted to write a book that was not only informative about the extensive process, but also easy to understand. Instead of reading those typical non-fiction books, such as this, I decided to write this opinionated piece where I can express my belief and include my personal opinions and humor in each topic, and would help a reader better grasp the concept and give the reader a more casual and relaxed effect. Because if you like beer, then we can be pals. Where does my book keep coming from? My book has had the great success of being called and won the title Best Science Book of 2014 by Amazon. My book, that's my award. Check out these reviews.
What I think about the book. I think the book was pretty well written since it was very engaging and informative. I didn't think nonfiction books could be this interesting, but Adam Rogers has done a good job due to his dry sense of humor and interesting backstories behind how he acquired all this information. He talks about fermentation and distillation, but makes sure that the reader understands the importance of sugar and yeast. Sugar and yeast, even though are very simple ingredients, they're very important and are the basis of the production of alcohol. Fermentation, which is a natural process, is what gives us alcohol, and he writes this in his book about how fermentation has been going on for even before we were born. Distillation is what gives us vodka, gin and beer, and we as humans made distillation because of our wish to have something much more stronger. But more importantly, even though these things have negative side effects, why do we still keep on coming back to have more? This is where the psychology chapters start, where there were tons of stories and reasons behind why we were actually drinking alcohol. You guys should really read this book because it not only gives you a lot of new sets of interesting information, but also gives you a taste of how alcohol is really made.
So for me personally, I would definitely say I really enjoyed this book, but I especially loved the way it was written. Adam Rogers uses very informal language throughout the entire book, which isn't very typical for science-related books or non-fiction books, but I felt like it definitely helped me to understand the material, as I felt like someone was actually explaining it to me rather than just a book stating the facts. He also includes stories from his personal life as well as history-related stories, and this helped me to understand the background content, so I didn't feel lost at any moment while I was reading the book. One of my favorite chapters in this book was definitely the body and brain chapter. In this chapter, Roger explains how the psychological aspects of your brain could affect the way you perceive booze to be. Roger mentions an experiment where a psychologist wanted to understand the reason as to why people drank. He performed a test where he brought subjects to taste test different types of alcohol drinks and then told them that it did not contain alcohol. And he came to a conclusion that no one really experiences a loss of control or getting drunk unless they were told that there was alcohol inside their drink. He also researched how the environment would affect how much we drank, and he came to the conclusion that when someone is placed into a loud bar setting, they would usually drink more than if they were placed into a quiet setting, which I found super fascinating.
I definitely enjoyed this novel because of his presentation as well as his research as the parallels he made from us as a society to the production of alcohol, all the while using his sarcastic humor he displays throughout his book. So the message he sent across the book was to emphasize that alcohol is the center of all sciences, and the progression in the science is to answer the questions that goes along with alcohol. So the effects and how it's made. So he mentions that we fund biology to understand why adults enjoy beer and the multiple uses of yeast. So as for the humor, there's a passage in chapter 8 called Hangover where he's stating a statistic with 23% of people that will not get hangovers. So he could have just moved on to other statistics, but he made the book slightly more entertaining to read with his personality and sarcasm in the book by making a joke. So his presentation style included rhetorical questions he asks in the book, which involves those who read the book and retains their attention. Even I stopped to think about the questions before continuing. He also highlights the unrecognized research like the impairment and lingering issues of progress at work and happens the day after adults drink, which costs a lot more for the government. So I admired his involvement and desire to solve the question by participating in a study of drinking to ensure a hangover to test on a Clotem and vitamin B6 pills that are believed to decrease the symptoms of a slightly hangover significantly. So read the book again because it was that intriguing.
So hop in and buy my book now so that we can join in this adventure together and get drunk. So what are you waiting for? And what they give to beer. That's what I love most about beer. That's what I'm alcoholic.
Look down as well. Look down as
I was
well.
gonna say I'm alcoholic. But
I mean, like after you guys are like here, like blah, blah, blah.
Okay, I should probably say something. I should say, hey, do you want to, or just be like, hey, maybe to her, just be like, hey, can you get 2 drinks?
my book, and I don't even know why I have these books on my desk because I can't even read them. This guy ruins the shot. Why did you come in here?